صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه. The chapter that deals with the turban of the Prophet ﷺ. Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the Prophet ﷺ entered Mecca on the day of victory, Yawm al-Fath, wearing a black turban. Amr ibn Hurayth reported that his father said, I saw a black turban on the head of the Prophet ﷺ. Also, Amr ibn Hurayth reported that the Prophet reported that his father said that the Prophet ﷺ addressing the people with wearing a black turban. Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, said that when the Prophet ﷺ donned a turban, he let his turban hang down between his shoulders. And Ibn Abbas, and this is our final hadith, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father, he said that the Prophet ﷺ addressed the people while wearing a turban that was desma, that is marked with traces of oil from his hair. Now, these hadiths all indicate that the Prophet ﷺ used to wear a turban. And sometimes this turban was with a qulunsuwa, which is this that I'm wearing underneath my headgear, or without. And it wasn't that big like our brothers in Sudan roll it so that it is huge. It was of a normal size, and it had one of the edges going down from behind him, but it was not so long to reach his back. It was this little, but it was between his shoulders, as the Arabs used to wear that. Should it be black? The answer is no, because these hadiths talking about Yawm al-Fath, the conquest of Mecca, which took place, indicate that the Prophet ﷺ wore that color on that day, but he wore other colors as well. So it is not an indication that this is the sunnah. You may wear green, the Prophet used to wear green, but as we said, none of these colors are recommended as a part of the sunnah except white. This is the only color that the Prophet directed the Muslims to wear it when they're alive, and to shroud the dead, the deceased, when they are to be buried, in white. So this is the only color that we recommended to wear in the sunnah. Other colors are simply permissible. We know that the Abbasi Caliphate took the black as their sign, so they used to wear it, and they used to have their flags as black, but this is again a cultural thing and not part of the sunnah. And the final hadith of Ibn Abbas that we've just read, that the Prophet ﷺ addressed the people while wearing a turban that was desma. One of the interpretation of desma, that it was or it had traces of oil from his hair, and this is not authentic, not appropriate, because we know from the sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ was the cleanest of all, had the best smell and scent of all. So he would never come out with such a turban that has traces of oil on it, because we would consider that not to be clean. So desma here does not refer to the color of hair oil printed or imprinted on his turban. Rather, it refers to the color of the turban being dark in color or black, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. The following chapter deals with the lungi of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, which is the waist wrapper. So Abu Burdah says that Mother Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, brought out to us a tangled garment and a coarse loincloth. Then she said, the spirit of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken in these two, meaning that the Prophet died alayhi salam while wearing these two. And it shows you that at the end of his life alayhi salatu wasalam, he, as well as throughout his life, was not a person of extravagance or of lenient type of cloth and luxurious lifestyle. He wore the simple and down-to-earth clothes that were representable, that looked good, but at the same time were at the least of expense, because he did not have anything to do with this world, alayhi salatu wassalam. Al-Ash'ath ibn Sulaym, he says that I heard my maternal aunt relate on the authority of her paternal uncle while I was walking in Medina. So her uncle is a companion, may Allah be pleased with him. And he says that while I was walking in Medina, someone behind me said, raise your loincloth, for that is more pious and conducive to longer wear. This means that this companion waist wrapper or loincloth was dragging behind him, and it was sweeping the floor. So the Prophet said to him, because this was the Prophet ﷺ, when he looked behind him, it was the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. So he said to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, O Prophet of Allah, it's simply a black garment with white stripes. So the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, do you not have an example in me? So I looked and noticed that his loincloth was half shin, was half or to have his shins. And this is what we've spoke about, what we have spoken about earlier, that this is the sunnah, to the middle of the leg. And when the Prophet said, alayhi, it's more pious and purer for your garment because it will not wear quickly, and it would remain clean as well. And finally, the final hadith, Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father, said that the Prophet ﷺ took hold of the calf of my legs, or he took hold of my legs, and he said, this is the position of the loincloth, meaning to the middle of it. And if you object, then somewhat lower down. But if you object, the loincloth has no right to the ankles, meaning from underneath your knee, this is your knee, 4 fingers, this is the place of your loincloth. If you object, you may add another 4, this is 8 fingers. But if you still don't want to wear it then this area from that to the ankles is permissible. And acknowledge it is not permissible for you to exceed the ankles or to hide them. This is a major sin punishable in hell. هذا والله أعلم ونسبة العلم إليه أسلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد.
صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم